there's things about the 1600s that still have to do with us. And I was interested in exploring those themes. The decadence of that period, the hypocrisy that we see even today, the costumes of the late 1960s. The idea was brought to me actually by a costume designer, Eileen Gazinski, because we were talking about how to really do a very physical, very movement-based production that still captured the sophistication and the seduction and the sensuality of the 1600s. And there was no way we could really do that and afford to do that here at Pierce. Plus, corsets are very restricting for actors. And I knew I wanted to do something that was very physical and commedia-based, where, they're running all over the stage and rolling all over the stage. Probably couldn't do that in 1600s costumes. So that, she proposed the late 60s, haute couture of the late 60s, so high fashion. And we looked at some pictures and on Pinterest, and it was a great fit. I thought, they were fun, they were lively and sparkling, but they were also decadent and sophisticated and had, the sensuality of that period that I was trying to capture.
She's in a mini dress that has a train, and hers is sort of the tie to the 1600s.
I think for me it was finding the same emotional sensibility from one period to another. In other words, the purpose that clothing served in one period, what a ruffled shirt said in one period, what it said in the 1960s versus the 1660s. Things like color, the sensuality from one period to another, the male-female relationship from one period to another. It was finding those commonalities between the two periods. The 1960s, the period of the 1960s I selected was one of the sort of booming sexual revolution, and there was a lot of things happening in modern culture at that time. So I sort of used that, and this was all my backstory, so that I drew on for designing.
As actors, we were not actually explicitly given the information that it was set in the 60s. It was sort of left up to us to interpret how we wanted to interpret it, because it was written in the 1660s, and then aesthetically from a costume standpoint we are set in the 1960s, but as actors the director really kind of let us play with whatever time period motivated us and whatever we felt like could relate more to our character and to the play. And so yes, there are elements of that really revolutionary time period that play really well into some characters and some of the choices, but then other characters definitely relate more to that traditional time period. I feel like my character relates a little bit better to the traditional time period of it. And then she also really wanted it to be relatable to people now. So we had to find this way to tie the 1660s, the 1960s, and then 2016. And it was, we did have a lot of freedom.